Look at us, two big buff guys talking about how great walking is. We're like, guys, just walk and breathe. But it's the truth. Welcome back to the Free Yourself podcast. My name is Ryan Janni, and I am naked. And today's guest, we have my man, Dean Fazzolari. I have been following him for quite some time on Instagram, and literally like everything in his bio just like encapsulates most, if not all, of my top interests. Like everything from his inner warrior program to manifested wellness program. He's a former IFBB Pro, or are you still competing?
Yeah. No, I don't still compete.
So it's like there's so much to unpack with this, and I'm so excited to get to know you, Dean. It's a pleasure to have you on the podcast. So thank you so much for doing this.
Yeah, absolutely.
So with your journey with the IFBB Pro, how did you even start? Like, how did you get in your mind, like, I could first off work out so much that I get the physique of a pro bodybuilder? And how did you start this journey with exercise and wellness?
Yeah, appreciate you recognizing those things. That's a good question, because that was when I got my pro card. It was about 10 years ago, and a lot of things have happened since 10 years. But to go back even before that, the biggest idea that I had was not so much being a pro or how long can I lift and this and that. I was in the gym with a friend, and I realized how much I loved the gym. I didn't understand why. And then a friend of mine wanted to be a fitness model. And when he said fitness model, I couldn't believe that that's an outlet to like be something, right?
Mm-hmm.
And like
right?
actually like, be able to and like do something with it. So in my head, I was like, okay, I want to do this for the rest of my life. Like if I can train for the rest of my life, then that will be something that, like, if I can get paid to train for the rest of my life, then that would be something that I want to do. And that turned into IFBB Pro. You know what I mean? It wasn't like, oh, the IFBB Pro thing came later when just the physique division just came out. And somebody told me when I was a security guard at a local club, and this dude was telling me how this new division came out. I would be perfect for it, right? So I looked into it. Next thing you know, I'm speaking to a coach. I'm speaking to, this IFBB Pro's coach, whatever. And that kind of rolled into like, wow, okay, I can be an IFBB Pro. And then that happened, like there was no great plan to be an IFBB Pro. It was like, I just want to I want to be that. And it happened. The biggest thing that happened in my mind, which brings into manifest wellness,
mm-hmm.
Is how I was able to manifest certain things through, to me at the time was wellness. It was fitness, but over the time I realized what wellness is. And it was me being able to manifest these certain moments in my life. One of them too was being a cover of Muscle Fitness cover, seeing that, and it just happened like the leadway to it. People who I met, who I was at that moment, my mindset at that moment, and it brings back into this whole thing being all energy, frequency, vibration, and like how manifested wellness has a lot to do with not just looking a certain way, going to the gym. It has all to do with a vibrational way of being, and what got me into manifested wellness, or what got me into being IFBB Pro, or the IFBB Pro thing, was not so much the most interesting thing that happened in my life. It was like, how is all of these different areas of life connected, And so yeah, I mean, being an IFBB Pro, that mindset kind of was just to answer your question, was just really wanting it, but being in the right place at the right time too, to be able to accept the opportunity as it came. You know, it was like walking through it. I still had to do things. I still had to grind out a certain way, but I was ready for it. You know.
Yeah, that me and my another guest on my podcast, Matt Z. We talked sort of about luck versus good fortune and our sort of different definitions of it. Because I always saw good luck as, when opportunity, or when you have an opportunity and your abilities meet that opportunity head on. And then, but that was more of his definition of good fortune, versus luck is like, he almost referred to it as like good fortune and dumb luck. And I always thought of luck as this, this thing that happens when all the work that you've been putting in, and when an opportunity comes for all of that work to really come together and mesh. So I love also that you talked about how it led to all your different programs and stuff. And it's beautiful to see, when it's like the quote where it's like, as you start to walk the way, or as you start to walk the path, the way appears. Like you this thing clicked for you that you could even, it was even possible to be a fitness model. And then this physique portion of the IFBB came out, and it's like, you would be perfect for this. But you still had to work for all these things. Like nothing.
Well, the pro, I didn't just become a pro, right? Like I had to do the local shows, the national shows, how to get on the stage, how to show up for it. You have to beat a certain class of people. And so where I am in that whole mindset is like you said, being able to vibrate at a certain level to be ready and aware of that opportunity. And I think there's the mixture of good fortune to, go into that, and luck. Like luck is, you take a few numbers, or you take the dice and you throw it, and that's a game, and it's fun until you're no longer lucky. Then it's no longer fun. The illusion goes away, and to be an IFBB Pro, or to get into that even mindset to compete with all these guys and stuff, and to do all that, you need to work on, I believe, not just good fortune, but it's the work that brings the good fortune. And it's that work that you do. And in those moments, you'll have these possible moments of luck, or, just kind of like stepping in shit, but like not in a bad way, you know what I mean? Yeah. And then also, but if you don't do the right things at those moments, whether it's the yes or no, it could be stepping in shit in a bad way. That luck, you realize, wasn't luck, maybe. It was lessons that look like a golden nugget,
That's it. That's it, man. Because that's the other thing that it took a long time for me to learn. It's like when those opportunities come, but I haven't, put in certain X amount of work for that opportunity for me to take advantage of that opportunity. It's like, for a while, it would knock me back down a lot more, because I'm like, I'd beat myself up about it. Whereas now it knocks me up a level, because I'm like, okay, well, now I know it was just this much, this part. But that also comes with a lot of, reflection on the event and what happened. Like, why, asking yourself honestly, like honest self-reflection of why wasn't I able to meet that opportunity and excel with it? And then you can really deep dive into like how you can, if that sort of opportunity or something like it were to happen again, I now have X skills or X experiences that I can build with. And
I guess to recognize it, right? To recognize what it is. Like, it doesn't just go away, right? Like a lot of our flaws or whatever come from characteristics that we didn't even know where they came from. They were built like, if we weren't born with it genetically as a human, then it was built in us over time, or we brought it upon us to be built on, And it's like, when you start to learn about yourself in those ways, And see, if you can see it that way, you're in a good perception, because that's the other half of it too. Or the other big portion of it is, how are you perceiving all of this? How are you perceiving yourself and the awareness of the situation? I mean, there's a whole chemistry involved in that. If you really think of it, like what builds that? What builds luck? What builds personality? What builds perception? Is it luck or is it a lesson? Because things to me, at this point in life, are all lessons that are like lucky lessons, you know? And some of them are shitty lessons, but there are some things that I don't were lucky, dude. I thought I got lucky, and like it was not luck. You know, it's a lesson. And then there are some things in life that you think, you know, it could be the shittiest things in your life, and yet you can still see so much love and meaning behind it, you know? And it's like, okay, that's the kind of the game that plays in my mind when I look at those two things between, you know, luck and good fortune, and like lessons, man. The all, you know, it's
all lessons. And I was listening to Aubrey Marcus was talking to this guy. His first name was Matthias. I think might have been Matthias DeStefano. But he was diving deep into like the 9 dimensions, and he was a guy who he says, you know, we don't have physical proof, but he says he remembers his past lives. And
interesting story. It's an interesting thing too. Think about past lives, what that is even trying to be explained as, and how much belief could be built into that, you know, whether you believe it or not. There's just a lot of information out there that kind of links up to what a past life is or could be.
Yeah, you have one person that might call the guy schizophrenic, that he just has different personalities.
Dude, that's also been, you can see that as a medical thing, like this dude's schizophrenic, or you can see it as a religious belief. And that's like, what do you do with that? You know, you gotta open up. You gotta think about that stuff. And it's like, I don't want to cut you off where you're going, but what is a past life? You know, like what is that to you? What does that mean to you? If you even believe in it. If you don't believe in it, then don't get it out of your head, because you're not even, why would you want to entertain that? You know? Right.
And he talks about the different, his past lives, and how he talks about it is something would be happening in his current life. Like the main story that he talks about, like how it started. He was learning about ancient Egypt in his textbook in school. And this is like, he said he's in elementary school. So like early grades. And he saw a picture of the pyramids, but then he got a memory of being at the pyramids and looking at the pyramids. But then they look different because the pyramids have been changed so much over time. And that's when he felt like he was a woman in that past life. And then he started like having the memories of like that woman and her life. And so it wasn't that like at any given time, he can just pull from his past life and tell you his life story.
It had a line. You had to meet it.
Yeah. Like
what you were talking about opportunity and like the level of where you're at. That's the same thing, right? Because it's like you can have a whole life experience sitting in one place, let alone but we have to meet that level. Also, if we go out there and we're moving, then there's also pictures of things maybe that we can remember I don't want to get too deep into it, but
this is what I love.
But that makes sense, right? Because the awareness of yourself. Think about meditation. You can read let's not even bring past lives into it. Let's bring visions and visuals, right? You bring in visuals into your life. If you're in a deep meditation, you can have a visual. You can have a aha moment. You can have these experiences. You can have these experiences if you were in the shower, right? You can have an experience like that. You can have an experience if you're out there going towards something, doing it, and like that deja vu. It's that. Those, weird either aha moments, or like, it's like you have an ocean within you. There's this ocean outside you. And when it meshes together, right? Or even if it shakes it hard, that's a moment. But what is that? those are triggers. Some triggers create these visuals, you know, which makes sense. Like, you think about how this is all one, you know, if you take away time out of this and make it timeless. I'm just saying at this point, just think about like what life is. Like, life is a ball, you know, let's say life is on this rock. It's a very hard thing to say because it's so small, right?
Yeah.
Life is so grand. But let's say life is this rock and we're going through this time individually. Each individual life is also a rock, right? Like, things need to be able to mesh so well for an experience like that to happen. And you have to call in something to allow that to happen.
It's the same. So to bring it to something for someone who maybe this is their first introduction to these type of things, like when you meet a person and you click with them right away, like their energy and your energy meet at such a way that you're like, it feels like you've been friends forever. And like, some might say that in past lives, your souls were in other bodies and were great friends, or were lovers, or were brothers, or were sisters, or something like that. Whereas in this circumstance, it's just about your energy matches, and it was the time of the universe for you guys to meet and to exude good energy and love. And I know I've had, you know, there's so many moments where you meet this person and they become a part of your life and you feel like you've been friends forever, but it's really only the past couple months or the past couple weeks, but you're so open to them.
Where do you think that chemistry comes from? Yeah.
Well, it's my, you know, perception of this reality is that we do have past lives. And I believe that whenever I meet someone and I click with them right away, it's like, there's someone in a past life that I was close with in some way. And some people, well, what were you gonna say?
No, I was saying I felt in life with certain people in life, like that feeling was so profound that it could only feel like it was a past life, because I felt like I knew them so well.
Yeah.
And I mean, yeah, what do you call that? You know what I mean? Like, past life is interesting, man. You opened this up. I wasn't expecting you to talk about past life. So I'm very mindful of what I say with past life, because it's a very deep belief that's like, it's either it is or it's not. And then it changes the whole scripture of how this life should be played or viewed or discovered, or, you know, because if it's past lives, then guess what? We're back. So what does that mean? Mm-hmm. We're back. And then is there another back? Do I come back again? Do you come back again? Do we all? It doesn't just work for me. It works for everything, everybody. And not just humans, though. Because why, unless there's a natural law that suggests past lives just for humans, then what about dogs? What about animals? You know, like, and then going back to like life on this block, how important this little block is, or how insignificant in this big scheme of what life actually is, you know?
Well, to bring it to, you know, sort of how some people might be able to perceive what we're talking about that don't either, I don't even want to say believe in reincarnation, but this conversation to them is so out there that they're like, no, this is not possible. I'm this one person. It's in all religions, there's this belief of the eternal soul, right? Like, you go to heaven but your energy lives on. And like, only atheists, I think only atheists believe that when you die, you go in the ground and you rot into the ground, right? Like, or if you're,
which is also an experience. If you were to think about what consciousness is, and like consciousness all being connected, and that's also an experience that your physical is going through, but there's also a conscious. I mean, unless you don't believe in consciousness after, you know, and then that's shut off. But like, does it matter at this point in this moment? Does it matter? Does it matter on the grand scheme of everything?
Right.
And that, if it does, and it really does, then like we have to really be mindful of everything we do and say. If it doesn't, then we can just be whatever. I think there's such a balance to that too, you know, and how people, or maybe it's not. Maybe that's just life. Maybe that's the big question. I feel like some people don't think that way, though. Absolutely. Like, there's no thought about what life actually is, and they're just running with their heads chopped off, you know?
Well,
You see it every day.
yeah,
Even when I, go ahead. I'm sorry.
that's like that's one of the like many positives to the religions that exist. Like the whole, at the core of them, it's all about being like a good moral person, right? And whatever they believe, it's go to heaven, or your soul lives on, and then you won't go to purgatory, or you won't go to hell, or but it makes it so that you're a good moral person to the people around you, and and you, like, everyone can live by the 10 commandments. Like those, don't kill somebody, don't rob from your neighbor, like don't steal, don't covet another man's wife. Like these are basic human principles that are just like good for anybody to live by, whether you believe in, Jesus was the savior, or you only believe in the Old Testament, like Judaism. And it's the cool part about that is, like, I have a lot of family members that, like my Puerto Rican side of my family, a lot of them are born again Christians, and their belief is like all the Bible is 100% truth, and it's like word for word, and the earth is 4,000 years old, and we came from Adam and Eve, and they're great people. So, like, to challenge those ideas, it's their beliefs, and the whole Christian religion was based on, here's the answers, don't question any of the answers because these are the answers. Whereas Judaism's belief was, when you find the answer, ask another question and ask another question, and so it's kind of cool to see the differences in those two religions. And then you have the stories through all the different books of all the different religions, very similar stories with different names and faces, and
it's almost like the similar scripture told. That's crazy. And what's crazy is there's so many thousands of years separated between certain things in certain religions, and it's like timeline repeating itself, right? Like timeline, like that circle of life kind of thing repeating itself, whatever that is, on a bigger scale. Fuck, man. It's crazy because if you ever experience yourself in a deeper way, right? I like to use the word larger because it's like grander, but in a deeper way. It could be smaller, right? Too, like, if you ever experience how, like, just such humility or humbleness, and then experience such grand feelings of success, right? You witness a different version of yourself. And I feel like the more we tap into those things, bring us into this alignment, this awareness of who we are. And I think that's where these past life experiences or feelings come from. Like I've seen myself in a past life, or I've met you in a past life kind of feeling. It's bigger. It's bigger than those moments are bigger than that oneself in most of their given moments, in life, not just in a day, like those profound opportunities or lessons, I should call them, because some of them don't feel like opportunities.
Right. Right. Definitely, lessons it's a very like neutral word for the experiences, right?
I'm not saying it's good or bad, but it's definitely with something.
Exactly.
And that's what life is. It just is. It goes back to that. Like, life just is. And I don't know. It's funny because you talked about someone being called a schizophrenic for even thinking this belief, but then there's religions built on it. It's like, that's how real that is, That's like
the line. It's
the line
just
to cross into that mental insanity, or not mental insanity, but let's say mental illness, right? Or I even hate calling it illnesses, because it's like, what is schizophrenia at a certain point? If people talk, there are people that have been called such, whatever, call it whatever it is, mental illness, call it spectrums, right? Levels of
Yeah.
a certain
Yeah.
spectrum.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like those come with side effects, but these people also speak sometimes, and it's like they're the most brilliant people you ever meet. So it's like, what's causing this mental issue, right? It's being drugged up on, and that's the other issue. It's like,
Dude,
oh, what medication are you going to put somebody on that's going to cause all these other issues that look like something,
yeah. And I forget who I was listening to. It was probably some podcast. They were talking about how like mental illnesses could actually be like, especially things like autism and these could actually be like the next level of evolution. And like this is like a superpower that is being developed, because if you think about well, just because I said autism.
I've listened to that. I've heard about that too. I think there's like two sides to that, but go ahead.
Yeah, so
there's two sides to everything, though.
Right. Yeah. Well, there's three sides to everything. So
that's true.
With autism, you have certain like social skills that someone is lacking, right? Like, or our definition of what social skills should be, they are lacking. But then in this other set of circumstances, they excel to like the highest degree. Like the movie with I wish I knew the name of the movie, but he's
is it Rain Man?
Yeah, Rain Man, where he's like insanely good at counting cards and math and stuff. So they play poker, but he repeats himself and he can't look you in the eye and things like that. And it's like it's cool. It's cool to think of like it's all about perception, right? So for like me to have like, I think that would just be a great way to connect with like, say someone is a special education teacher. A great way to connect with those kids is to like tell them this is their superpower and like motivate them that way instead of.
I mean, I feel like there's always ways to be able to motivate any person with anything, because that's not them. You know what I mean? It's a fraction of what that soul is going through. Maybe in this lifetime, maybe in the last lifetime, that person developed something, still a genius or whatever, but it wasn't autism. It could have been anything. It could have been nothing. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's weird, man. You think about someone deeper than a soul. It's like when you get past a label, so many labels these days.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, forget about mental health and being labeled certain things and then having to go through certain things with that label. But what about like just being vaccinated or unvaccinated? Like, that's a label that was just created and has separated so many minds again from each other, And then the mental health that's being built around it, being vaccinated or unvaccinated. What's to come later? What's to come? What's happening now? I just switched the whole thing, but for some reason, like that vax versus unvax, and then this whole stigma with mental health. It's like, where do you go from there? What's the step? Where's the spectrum in all of that?
Yeah, and especially like, forget about what the implications of people of having adverse reactions to the vaccine and whatnot. Just the implications of what this past 2 years has done to people's and children's mental health and children's development that were in schools that were young and forced to wear masks and stuff like this. Like there's and then all the child abuse and stuff that happened from kids being forced to be home and around the abusers. Like there's just so many consequences to what has happened, and yet but we're yet to see the full implications of what that does to society and to people. And that's where like I don't want to say worry, but my focus is, and of course, because like it's always easy to focus on the rest of the world and how I can fix that than it is to focus in, right? But really the rest of the world is the projection of my own reality. So like it's well,
you're going back with your head of like, what am I even perceiving as just my shit, or what am I perceiving as what's actually real and destroying? You know, to like do anything at the very end of all this. It's like there is a level of brokenness that humans are going through in these last 2 years, you know? And it's like what level that is creating even more of just opportunities for mental health to be an issue, you know?
Yeah.
And like, oh, it's just crazy, man. And, I don't even know what to say about it anymore, you know? Like,
Well, the beautiful thing
too, because the CDC doesn't even know what to say about it either.
Yeah.
They're
But
just all over the place.
The beautiful thing is like you have your programs and we're in an industry of health and wellness that across the board can help everybody to improve their life and improve their, you know, their defense against any sort of viral load, no matter what the virus is. And
it's out there. The information's out there. The people out there. Its question is like, who wants to show up to it? Who wants to start to believe in it? In order to believe that there's something that can help all this, you have to start going back to nature, because it's like natural law, just natural law, you know, how things work in the universe, in the world. And then if you go into like microbiology, you know, as within, so without, as the microcosm, so the macrocosm, you start to understand as the microorganism, so the macroorganism. Maybe there's a link to that. Bacteria versus us, viral versus us, or bacteria is us, viral is us. What does that mean? Because then you go back to frequency matching and like immune system building and all that, and how the system works within in order for us to illuminate again, you know, as humans, in order for us to thrive again in this time. It doesn't, you know, the vaccine, I promise you the vaccine ain't going to do it, and it's never going to do it. And it's already shown and proven it that it's not going to do it. So like, let's start thinking on a much deeper level, so we stop acting like that Chippers guy who, you know, said some ignorant stuff and is not paying for it. Because we're doing it on a deeper level within ourselves with this whole, and I don't blame any one person for this either, because it's like we're being misfed information. Even if it's the dumbest information, it's still being fed and it's still being absorbed. And you have humans on different parts of their life that either miss the information or, I mean, there are humans that just don't care about the information. That's fine too. There are levels of caring about it too, you know?
Yeah.
But it's, yeah.
Yeah, I feel like most people are more in the camp of all right, I can do this and get on with my life. Okay, whatever. I don't care about, it's not that they don't care about them being healthy. It's just like, I'm good right now. I need to do X so that I can make Y so that I can keep living. And you're saying I need to do this in order to keep living my life how I am. All right, whatever. Just
at this point, it's such a forced thing. Where's the freedom in all this? You know, so, and some people like already know the facts and understand that it's stuff. You get vaccinated, you got to go to work, you got to do shit.
Mm-hmm.
What bothers me is like, okay, now you have to detox from the vaccination, the shit that's in it. Let's say let's say out of all those chemicals, there was a chemical in there or a compound or a few of them that like made it work to do its job. Well, there's other shit in there that you have to detox from. Also just sits in your system. And that plus the 32 other shots that you had as a kid or whatever, I don't know. Everyone's different, I guess, depending on where you came from, you know, and like what school you went to. So, especially in this day and age, there's vaccines for everything. So it's like, what are you doing to detox? Well, let's talk about just detox, right? Let's detox from the virus, detox from the vaccines. Let's get ourselves well with them. And it's like, okay.
And this happens with all medications. All
anything you put into your body that's synthetic, it's causing a reaction that you need to detox from.
No, just to your point, like no matter what the medication, no matter what the synthetic thing is that we're putting into our body, once it is, you know, quote unquote, done its job that the doctor or whatever prescribed it to you to do, or you had some sort of, you know, you needed Advil, Tylenol, any of these things that people put in their body, you know, cold and flu stuff, like all of these things, once they've done their job, we need to get back to homeostasis and get rid of the metals and the synthetic stuff that's in it. So our body can then, because once you don't have the symptoms anymore, there's still all that stuff left over. in your body, and we need to detox from that. Like,
and the body will do it itself naturally, but you have to give it the tools. Sorry about that.
Bring the dog in. Come on.
Too many of them. Once we give it the tools, then it'll start the process. It'll smoothen out the process. That's another thing too. Is us getting sick is the process.
Yeah.
And it's our immune system doing its work. So we fear these symptoms, and it's like, don't fear the symptoms. The symptoms are there to tell us something, But yeah, and it goes back to fear, So like, I think about this virus a lot. I mean, we all do. It's to levels, but like I think about like the fear game that's being played, because it's like the body, and it doesn't go for everybody. That's another thing too. It doesn't go for everyone, because not everyone's immune system is currently the same. Yeah. I feel like we're all built for the same type of immune system, but then environment hits us, life hits us, and then we screw ourselves up, or we get screwed up, whatever is hitting what, right? So, but at the end of the day, the human has an immune system that's very capable, very, very strong. And it's like, we just need to give it the tools and treat it well. It goes, micronutrients, antioxidants. Once you learn about antioxidants, it changes your game in life, and like what the importance of what a blueberry means to you. You know what I mean? Or what versus what, an Oreo means to you, what sweetness actually is, or what flavor means to you, because like you stop things that you used to enjoy flavor wise, when you start eating healthy, like you realize how off it is.
Yeah.
Not everything. I mean, there are levels to what I've experienced in myself too. Like now, now I can still enjoy a cookie, but there was a time where I couldn't enjoy anything, that wasn't like out of the ground, natural, because the body just didn't want it anymore. It was rejecting. That's a true detox, because you start to like become an aware human being during this process of like what this all is.
Yeah, for sure, man.
Comes in, that's the whole breath, nutrition, movement, sound. Those are the 4 ways to get to those 4 ways. Practice will bring you to your highest spirit, your highest concentration, or your highest self, or understanding of self. Because when you practice your breath, your nutrition, or mindfulness, right? Breath, nutrition, movement, sound, whatever you want to call it. When you understand the sound that you put into your body, when you understand how to breathe, when you understand what good movement is in the lymphatic system, how your body drains, you need movement to even build will inside you as a person. Breath, nutrition, movement, sound, like once you know that, then you start to build a program within yourself. That's just awareness. It's an awareness program. You just got to practice your awareness program. And then your awareness program becomes your practice in life, who you are, what you put in, and your energetic connections to things, especially sound, man. Sound's a big thing too. We don't even understand. And you're a DJ. Like, if anything, what sound does to people, what beats per minute do to people on frequency. And it's like, you can create the most holiest sounding, moments, or you can create the most darkest moments for people. You look at music and movies,
Yeah, even down to what keys for music, it's better at clubs with the deepness of the bass and the kick drum, and there's even, it goes, the science behind it is beautiful. And I'm a huge proponent of, when meditating, putting on like different chakra meditations and binaural beats and all of these different things to help aid recovery and help aid whenever there's any sort of blockage in any of the chakras or energy centers, whatever someone wants to call it. Like each one of the energy centers relates to different parts of our lives. And when we have a certain blockage in any one part of it, like confidence and stuff like that, like you go to that chakra, you play the corresponding, vibration, and you focus on it. And I, especially with the heart chakra and the sacral chakra and the solar plexus, like those are the ones that I'll put my hand over and concentrate and breathe in and breathe out, always through the nose. Like those are the ones that I love, because just the energy just like coursing through your hands. It's just, sometimes it's laying down on with like closing the circuit with this, and laying on an acupuncture mat like takes it to another level. And I love that stuff so much. And I got into that like about 7 years ago. I started my journey with that stuff, and that it all started with this woman brought a gong to a yoga class, and then she also had a Tibetan bowl that she would use. And I was like, this is a whole nother level of drug. Like, this is
because it's sound, right? Sound is it's what creates all this. And it's creating chemistry in your body as you're listening to it,
absolutely
It opens up everything. Breath, nutrition, movement, sound. Those 4 things together each day, bringing it in little by little, being mindful of it, what you listen to, what how you move. Like, how you move plays such a huge role in how you present yourself in life, how you take on certain obstacles, how you take obstacles in your mind, and whether or not if it's an actual obstacle that you have to physically take on or just mentally get over. All of it's pretty much mental, right?
Yeah.
There's something
right.
Bring ourselves to the place to be at a physical point, or to get out, if it's like an issue with another person, you have to speak to, you have to be able to bring yourself there, or, in this day and age, that's mental too, because you just do it and then it's on the phone,
Yeah.
Just,
yeah.
And then wellness, and then it goes back to, I believe that there are keys to life that, like, if you just polish those keys and or if you tune those keys, they need to be constantly tuned, And if you do it with certain practices and movements and like ways about life, then you unlock those aha moments in life, and you get to experience those moments because you showed up with that vibration, that of being able to take on the opportunity.
Absolutely, man.
That's wellness, being able to play the game and like call it a win every once in a while. If it's a win, call it a win. You get those. We get a lot of losses, but those are just us, our lessons, and us going against ourselves. Constantly. And there's others to that too. Go and say what heaven and hell is. What is wellness? What is heaven and hell? I don't know. If I'm not well, I'm not. Definitely don't feel like I'm in heaven.
Yeah, from my experiences, I've like heaven and hell can be right now. Like in any situation, it's our perception of
what is right now. So like, what is right now? Like, what are we doing right now? What are we experiencing? And heaven and hell, I believe. I cut you off totally with this, but it's a switch that you can. It's a switch that if you know how to work with the switch, you can turn on another aspect of your life that doesn't have to be that hell,
Yeah, it comes back to perception. Like, my old self 7 years ago perceived everything around me as negative and everything within me as negative. And it was only through like getting clean and then starting to figure out like, why am I feeling this way? And like figuring out that, I'm not my thoughts, but my thoughts create my reality. So I can control my thoughts, and whatever I think, I will project out into the world. And these, little nuggets that I find along the way, that they're like tools in my tool belt, like that I can pick from in any sort of like instance in my life. And it's only when I'm, aware enough about the situation, like, because at any given moment, something can happen and I can feel terrible about that thing that happened. And it's not until, I move there, I put some time and space in between that moment that I can like actually look back on it and learn from it. And that sometimes, like in the moment, like Like I'm not always like this calm Zen meditative perfectly person, like I have my moments where I lash out and like whether it be verbally or physically, and it's like the people that are closest to me have seen that the most, and those are the people that I love the most. So it hurts the most, like when I think about it, but it's having the awareness that those things are happening. That's the only way I can change these things from happening.
Shift it, right? Like it's shifting your energy. Shifting your energy can shift the whole dynamic of how each moment plays out. And it's the awareness of being able to go back to wellness. If you're not feeling well, you're not gonna be such a nice person unless you're like really mindfully aware. Even that, it'll probably just make you more quiet, but it won't, doesn't make you so much a nicer person if you're not feeling well.
Yeah.
You'll still be a person, but there's levels to what nice is, what patience is, and what empathy and compassion is. So, when we're in our practice too of manifesting our wellness through, different mindful practices, breath, nutrition, movement, sound, through all of those aspects, we start to become better people because we could present ourselves as a much stronger person, or not even call it strength is a version of strength, but together, much more together when we're in our practice. And like, you talked a little bit about being upset. The more, because it's the people, like the people closest to you that you're upsetting. There's levels of emotion that we have to also be able to process, understand. And when we're in pain and we're going through the shit, we're not processing,
Yeah.
It goes back to like when you talk about, put your hand on the heart and your head and your sacral. We're taking those moments to process what it is, shifting ourselves to be better people.
Absolutely, man. It's like when you have an instant with a family member and an argument happens, it's a very different energy than when I'm driving and someone might cut me off or just does something that doesn't sit well with me. Well, if I take it back to before either of those instances, like I know I'm going to have a better reaction to either of those things if my nutrition is right, if my breathing if I meditated that day. Like I know all of these things come together to make it so that in those instances I can respond better.
It's not even responding, it's just being able to know when to just breathe during the moment, and that'll change everything. It changes the way in which you speak, right? So you give back a verbal command or communication or whatever you want to call it. And let's say you're in a fight, right? You're trying to you're going back and forth. Just knowing to breathe in a moment shifts the whole dynamic of how two people communicating, and that one being you, And where did that practice come from? It comes from breath work, it comes from, it sounds crazy, but breath work. Like, there's ways to breathe, there's different, because you talk to one person, it's like, this dude's crazy for talking about breath work. The next person's back to a religious thing, Some people religiously do their breath, do their breath work because that's what this whole thing, the very base of what this is this transfer of breath, of breathing, how we breathe, the tempo of breath that changes the whole chemistry of our body, just simply by conscious breathing.
It's the most important nutrient.
Right.
Yeah.
Dude, imagine the one thing to save the world is that we all have to consciously be able to breathe at a certain tempo, certain amounts of the day. And everyone's like, wow, this is crazy. You're going to teach us how to breathe. But that was breath was what changed all this, because it'll change communication times, response time, to each other, to within ourselves, the chemistry change within ourselves with conscious breathing. It's work though. It's it's not easy to consciously breathe, you know.
Yeah.
But, and then once you understand what conscious breathing is, you understand what words are and all that. Like, because some people just speak, some people just are throwing words out, don't even understand what it's doing, you know, to their situation, to that moment. I mean, I'm guilty of it too. That we're all on levels,
Yeah.
or moments in time.
But the breath, it's the single most important nutrient that our body needs is oxygen, and we also need the carbon dioxide that's in the air too. We need a balance of that in us, right? And people, as we're growing up, we're taught that's part of the autonomic nervous system. Like, we breathe automatically. It's not.
It's true, but are we breathing consciously?
Exactly. It's absolutely, like, if we're sitting here and I'm awake, I'm going to be breathing, whether I am consciously breathing 4, 5, 6, 4, 5, 6, 4, 5. Like, I like a nice 7 seconds box breathing is my, I just like the number 7. It's like my favorite number of the universe. It's like, there's so many things that are 7, including the chakras, but then you also have the 8th and 9th.
Something like that, 114. There's a lot, but the 7 main ones, yeah.
So it's, and also, like, as I'm doing a 7-second box breath, it's like, start at the root chakra, sacral, solar plexus, heart, throat, third eye, crown, breathe all the way up and then all the way back down. And then in the top part where I'm holding the breath, that's when I'm trying to pump the spinal fluid. So it's like a tightening of flexing of the lats and all my muscles of my back to pump the spinal fluid. And then it almost feels like you're lightheaded, but it's like, it's the spinal fluid coming up to your brain. And then it's like, that's how I start all my meditations. It's like just a good baseline, like, do that round like 3 or 4 times, and then try to just get the force back to like the 4 seconds in, 4 seconds out, very calm. But it's always through the nose. Like, our mouth was meant to eat, our nose was meant to breathe, like that. Most people don't even realize that. Like, and that's where you have mouth breathing. And that can damage the body so badly.
Yeah. I mean, wellness is a very deep topic, because it's hard. It's not like if you do these 4 things, it will make you this. It's not that. It's like, if you do these 4 things, you're going to be better, you know, if you practice, because it's the basis of what we're doing. Like, there's purpose behind it, right? There's purpose behind moving, understanding functional movements, and being able to take a box and put it on top of a shelf or something. Mm-hmm. There's purpose to living, you know. Like, and I mean, it's 2020. When I realized that it's 2020, I mean 2022, right? Am I right? I'm in the right frame, right?
Yeah.
And then 2022, and yet we're still trying to understand what these basics are. And they just back, I feel like, 100 years in time from the vaccine pandemic thing that just totally shut down what natural living even means. You know, what it means, the purpose behind it, if you believe in God, then give God credit. You know, give God credit. Like, go back to nature, go back to, you know, the holistic sides of things, because some may argue that God created a synthetic thing, but man creates that, you know, to mimic nature and its forces. So let the natural forces take its place, you know?
Right? Like, it's created to mimic something that already exists in nature.
In a different form.
and that way they can patent it and sell it to you.
Yes. Which another thing too, like people don't realize that either. So like once you understand that, the whole what a patent is and like how they patent, in order to sell anything, it can't be from nature, right? So they got to throw patents on it. And like, yeah, whatever, bro. That's a whole other. It's not even conspiracy anymore. That's the thing. It's real. It's fact. It's fact. It's there.
And that's, I know I'm in a good place when I'm talking about this stuff and I'm laughing about it instead of actually getting angry about it. Because
you get very angry about it, yeah.
Yeah. Well, I can at any given time. Don't get me wrong. I can at any given time, but I know I'm in a good place when I'm talking with someone and it's laughable.
Yeah. Well, yeah. At least you know that there's still people that you can speak to. That's not totally, I don't want to say out there because I don't want to make fun of any one person, because I know it's a very sensitive topic, especially when we talk about vaccines and shit. But like at this point, you can only roll the dice against the wall so many times, and get the wrong answer before you start seeing the right answers. And it's like, give it time, give things time. Truth comes out over time. But also, like, we have a device that we can do our research and look things up, and just natural law. Like, look up natural law, look at nature, look at how nature works. Simple, basic stuff, and then trust that, trust those aspects. Actually, I say that now too, but there's so much misinformation out there now. But
yeah, it's true.
It's something that is tried and true for years. And like natural law has been tried and true for years. Understanding who we are as people, as beings, like understand what epigenetics is, understanding what we're made out of on a biological level. We're fungus, we're bacteria, we're parasites, we're all this crap. Not necessarily parasites, but there's all this that is somewhat within us that's living and doing something, and we're the balance of that. On a physical level, we're the balance of living things that are constantly coming through us and outside us.
The hilarious part about this is how much like so within, so without is a beautiful way of putting it. But like, there's more
one of the orders to it.
Yeah, and there's more. What is it? It's more cells in our body that are not us than that are us. And
like, dude, there's so much. There's 10,000 colonies of bacteria that live in our gut, and there's over 100 trillion of them. So, and there are 10,000 colonies that constantly battle each other to speak to our brain and tell us the things that we want to eat, or how, where we want to go to, or, what weather we would rather be in. And it's crazy because it's like the big part, that's where I believe the illusion comes in life. It has to do with that. It has to do with what's in our body and how our energy is running through our body, which creates these illusions. This is where you get the mental health aspects, I believe, too, because it starts to create illusions in your mind of life and distort shit, Not that the whole human being is discredited, but there's something that gets distorted within that. I think a lot has to do with our gut and how, I know a lot has to do with our gut, how that plays, our immune system, how that's working, our fear of, what is a fear of a microorganism, like what's the level of that? And that's what the virus is. It's a microorganism, That's something.
That's a great point, because like, at what point does a being develop fear? Like,
to an extent that could shut down themselves even more, that thing that it's afraid of actually can do its work.
It's because like, it's the fear that is doing it. Like, it's not even like, yes, there's a lot of people that have died, but like, I can name a bunch of other things that way more people have died from that nobody's scared of, and continuing to put this shit in their body.
Yeah. It's, well, dude, also it's like fucking media plays a big role in that. It's designed like scientifically, specifically to fuck with the human consciousness. Like,
yeah,
you know, even if like coronavirus, what it is, if it's man-made or not, I don't care. At this point, with how both sides of media present it and talk about it, it's being designed that way to keep us in it. And that's what we have to really come to grips with too. It's like, how much of this is fear? And then once you understand how much it is, you got to be like, okay, now I have to approach the situation. How much am I going to actually speak about it with people? And when I do speak about it with people, when I choose to speak about it with people, what am I actually going to say about it? Am I going to just say, fuck this, fuck that, or fuck that person? No, because that's not doing nothing but create that same conflict that fear creates, which is aggression and anger and conflict, right? Chaos. You got to approach it with some, you know, meaningful ways of speaking about how to balance yourself through it, how to get rid of it, or how educate yourself, you know, with how to defend yourself to where you're not so fearful. Because then it goes back to biology. Like, if our chemistry is screwed up to begin with, well, if a virus is coming naturally, the 10,000 colonies, one of those colonies would be like, do something, you know, to the brain, like react, get out of your environment, get out of the house, get whatever. Mm-hmm. And then that's when people start panicking and freaking out because like our human self is like, what's going on here? When we got these microbiology, you know, microorganisms that are just attacking our mind based on a virus that I think it needs to defend from. And then it fucks up our immune system, endocrine system, everything, like everything. So we get into our nervous system gets all screwed up. We're in fight or flight, like, and then what does that do? That just drains the body even more. And I think when we go into like the news and all that stuff, these people really have to understand that every time they put their face on that news and they talk about COVID, they're fucking people up, and they're responsible for it. You know, they're responsible. Absolutely. Education now. I felt like we're learning anything. What did I learn? To triple mask now? Like that was the biggest update. You know how to protect yourself. Really? Like, come on.
And what's the one thing that can lower the vibration away from fear and anger and resentment? And it comes back to the breath. It comes back to the breath.
Cases of everything. Like I said, dude, if you actually wear it, like, instead of saying mask up, it's like, no, all right, everyone, be a safe space or whatever, but let's practice this breath work. Like, let's just get our system, and here are the scientific facts, and here, you know, real scientists and experts that could recommend this or that, or explain this or that, to where we can all be like, okay, I much rather practice this for a few months, or forget about a few months, a few weeks, than to practice this quarantine, this and that, mask up, blah, blah, blah. It's like, if we kind of did the opposite of what we were supposed to do, and that was cover ourselves and our breathing, then we will get better. Like, we will be better. Naturally, because then we're mindful of it, we're open into it. And then, like, the nervous system resets, you know, like all that stuff, like the changes start to happen. But no, this is what's fucked up. It's that who am I to say this, right? And then who are you to understand this? Yet we do. I am saying it, and you are understanding it, and we're not these experts, you know. And I mean, there's levels of what am I expert in training and, you know, knowing practice that's been out there. It's not mine. I didn't create it, you know.
Right. And it's just stuff that we've implemented in our lives and practiced, and it's like,
that's it, man. And
we've experienced it.
Blocking people from breathing was like the worst thing we could have done to try to protect ourselves. I understand the reason for it, you know, but like, Not when, dude, you realize the first mask didn't work, then they said second and third. It's like, what are you doing? What are you know?
And it's so hard.
That's simple. Before I want to go back. Maybe it's not as simple as just breathing, but there's a very large component in our breathing that would make this whole situation that much more calming. You know, and
Absolutely.
You still got to hydrate. You still got to, eat the right things. You still got to, and a virus is still a virus, but don't lose your mind over it like how we did. And
like you can literally increase your body's ability to fight off a virus by doing breath work. You can literally increase your body's immune system by doing breath work. You can increase your body's immune system by using sound, by using breath, by using nutrition and moving your body. Those four things that you talked about.
It is built the lymphatic system, right? It's like our, the main component of our immune system, and how if the body filters through toxins and all that. And it only gets pumped if we move. What is that? That's crazy, because it's like, that's our will. Your will to live has all to do with your movement. Because if you're not moving, then you're not pumping. If you're not pumping, then things get stagnant. If things get stagnant for too long, it clogs up space. If there's no space, then disease is created. If disease is created, then you just clogged up all your space to live a healthy, well life. So breathe, move, and after you then breathe and listen to some good music while you do it, whatever, like quality music. And then after that, eat something really well. And then you're on a new level of life, And it's just practice. It's mindfulness. It's showing up to that. And it's like that alone, basic, breath, nutrition, movement, sound, explains to someone, it's like everyone's lives could just change by adding those pieces mindfully. Really change. I'm not even like, there's no gimmick to it. It's like, it is what it is, And you have to practice it. That's the hardest part. You got to actually go up for yourself and practice. And it doesn't have to be crazy. We don't have to lift like bodybuilders and all that stuff. We don't have to move like that. It can be simple, hatha style yoga, like yin yoga. Like it could be jumping on a small trampoline, It's going to be a pump down. It could be walking outside the grass and grounding.
That's what I was going to say. Just walk. Like people, they go from their bed to the shower, to the kitchen, to the car, to the office, back to the car, back to the couch, back to the kitchen, back to bed. And they might not even have moved a mile in a day. Like that's a lot of people. Most people that work a 9 to 5, they might not have even worked a mile or walked a mile in their day. And the hard part about that though is like they feel so exhausted, and they think it's because they did so much through the day. Because yes, when we use our brain, that's also using calories, and that's also, doing things, right? It's not, they're not doing nothing, but they haven't literally, as we move, like if we flex our calf, that literally can pump, that can better, just flexing our calves, and when we're sitting down can pump. Like if your foot's ever asleep, just start flex and extend the calf. Like I always do if my foot falls asleep. Like that's literally pumping the blood. Like that little bit of movement, like that. When we walk, there's so much more to it than just we're walking to burn calories to lose weight. Like that's not even what we're talking about. Like you need to move the body in order to filter out what's in our body so that we can make new cells and give ourselves new life. Like it changes the chemistry of our body. And it's just a walk like that. A walk can do so much for so many people, because what did we have to do before, 100 years ago? Like we had to walk or ride a horse everywhere. So that's our body's default motion is walking. They laid down at night to go to sleep, but they had to work to do everything like before that. Like, and that's for millions of years. Millions of years.
Yep. I mean, we can make it so simple, but and it is simple, you know. I think it's not asking for much for yourself to commit to in life. And it holds a lot of lessons too in those moments, you know. When you're going for that walk, you're changing the environment which you're so accustomed to.
Mm-hmm.
And that changes your life. Literally changes your life by going out for a walk, because you're able to think on a different level of consciousness. You know, you're breathing in air that's being circulated, you know, not stale. And that's giving that level of oxygen is giving your brain time to process. And after that, you're going to go out for a walk and figure out all of life's.
Yeah, right.
There's a lot of walks, and we're still doing it, but each walk will bring you to an awareness that it's not just that one thing that's really holding you back. It's not, you know, or you can see, okay, you can start to break down layers and aspects with the main environment that you've been in life. And that usually comes into the household, the office, you know, school, those big factors. And then all of a sudden you go for this walk and those big factors are out there. And you're able to, you know, see maybe a different factor. Like every time if I go for my walk, you know, depending, like usually I catch myself walking a lot or being in the gym doing something, you know, depending on where I am in life and what I'm doing and how nice it is too outside, right?
Yeah.
A shitty walk is still, it's a shitty walk, you know, if you're not enjoying your walk, then it defeats the purpose. But, no, you know, every time I go for a walk, I go by the beach or by the water, and it brings you back to what nature and what life actually is, you know, like just looking at the ocean. You have the ability to go to the ocean and not just, you know, maybe go in the woods with trees and stuff like that and just sit in that silence or that just natural, just nature's way, you know. It changes perspective. It boosts everything, you know, your dopamine levels, all the chemistry, right? Serotonin, dopamine, all the little factors that make life just still, you know, that much better, that much more exciting, or, you know.
Look at us, two big buff guys talking about how great walking is. We're like, guys, just walk and breathe. But it's the truth. It's beautiful, man. Oh man. Nature is you talk about psychedelics and stuff, like nature's the trippiest thing in the world. Like
dude, it's breath work. Let's talk about psychedelics, breath work and stuff. When you're doing breath work, you're tapping into your own body's DMT, and like you're boosting chemistry throughout the body, and it's giving you an experience, you know?
Yeah.
Dude, if you overdo your breath work, like trying to look for that, you're going to burn yourself out. That's why people like they're doing Wim Hof a lot and all that. Like, unless you're using it as a tool for something, doing Wim Hof breath work is like serious breath work, you know?
Yeah.
Done all the time. And like puts you in completely in like a hypermanic state, you know? You have to utilize it correctly. You can't be like, dude, I used to before I understood what Wim Hof, like how intense the breath work was, I would do it while driving to jujitsu, like getting ready. And then I would just be like in this just like fulfilled state, you know, but with that and then going to like do jujitsu during that, it's like just like a beast mode. But there's levels to it, you know. You can't. They say you're not supposed to drive and do his breath work, and I could understand why. You know,
absolutely, man. That stuff. The only times that I've really done that, it's like 25 full inhales and quick exhales. It's like that's at least what I remember him talking about when he was on Rogan and Aubrey Marcus's podcast and stuff. I remember the first time I tried it. I was still dealing with like my asthma, so I hadn't fully cleaned up my diet, and like now I don't have asthma at all. But it immediately like triggered my asthma, and I had like an asthma attack, like freaking doing it. But again, like there was a part that was missing. Like I needed to go back to the drawing board with my nutrition, and I needed to eliminate a lot of things that were causing imbalances in my body, and incorporate things like kombucha and sauerkraut to refix the gut. And now like I can go outside and on my back deck and like with my eyes closed, like looking into the sun and do the Wim Hof breathing. And like, I don't need drugs to feel high. Like that right there is like, it's incredibly beautiful. And then like when I open my eyes, like I look out to the nature that's in my backyard, and it's like, it's so much more vivid and the colors are brighter. And it's like, it wasn't just that I was doing breath work and absorbing vitamin D. It's changing the full chemistry of my body, and like the laser sharp focus and improving my eyesight, like getting down like that, like intense with it. It's like, and then when I open my eyes and see this, it's like this whole like incredible moment where I'm like overwhelmed because it's like so beautiful, and it you can't buy that in a bag. Like
it just it's that blissful moment, right? That clarity,
like nothing else. There's nothing else in the world that matters at that moment. Like that's when I'm fully in the moment and not worried, not anxious, not depressed, not happy, not sad. It's just like full of love. Like that's how like Joe Dispenza like talks about it. Like,
yeah.
But before I'm sorry, keep going.
No, I'm saying Joe Dispenza. That's another good person to listen to.
Oh hell yeah! I just started reading his book, Becoming Supernatural.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah, I just started it. What'd you say?
The book.
Yeah, I have it right here. It's the first story in it is like everything that we're talking about. Like this woman fought herself into disease and then meditated it away. Like it's like that's a very simplified version of the terrible years of her life that she created with her thoughts and feelings. But then the beautiful ending to it, like finding out about breath work and meditation and doing those meditations every day that Joe Dispenza teaches, like she became well again, like all coming back to the breath, right? And to and creating and controlling our thoughts and thinking positive energy. And that's why like I can't buy into what's going on in the world. Like but people that haven't read and done this work don't understand it. When I say that you can meditate and improve your you can breathe and improve your immune system, they're like, I breathe every day. What do you mean? Yeah. Like that's the level of understanding of it. And it's so it's hard to and then those are the same people that are like, I don't have time to meal prep and cook, so I eat what's the fastest and I get what's around me, and like there's no plan or structure to their eating. It's like, so then that also makes it harder because that's hurting their gut, which is the first brain, not the second brain. Like it's tough. It's so tough to get through to some of these people, and especially, you know, people that say trust the science. Like they believe it as much as as much as my born again Christian family believes in the Bible. You know what I mean? It's like, cheers.
Yeah, that's all you can do. Is because what I realize in life is that there's only so much that you can try to explain to people, and it's just there's a level. I think nature just has a certain level of awareness for people, and like I always wonder like levels of suffering. You know, like if you know that you're putting yourself in the suffering, and we all going through this, right? This mind game that brings us into these levels of suffering or, despair, whatever, you want to call it. And like some of these people are clearly in certain sufferings physically, you can see it. And yet when you try to explain to them certain things about life and how we can shift and all this, they don't want to hear it. Or even if they do want to hear it, they're just, what I realize that there's just people on certain levels that they're just not there for certain things, But this is basic stuff that we're talking about, so I don't want to give people too much credit. But because like, these are basic things that we can, once you understand, you just have to do it, And that's, I feel like if religion could like bring a practice of wellness into their faith, that would be a good idea, because at least people would be getting something, I don't want to say strong out of it. That's kind of harsh, but because I have my faith in religion to a point, because then there's also, dude, you look at cosmology and you look at how the body is structured, you look at the numbers, you look at all these aspects, and then you look at religion, it's like, oh, it's all very much related. So there's definitely like a story in there that's being told that just doesn't have all the pieces to it, Or some of the pieces were like rewritten, it was just rewritten. So where were we again? We were from
There's parts of what was it? The Dead Sea Scrolls are that's where they got they had to translate those to get the Bible or something like that. I forget what it really all entails, but there's certain things where the names of certain things have a numerical value, and because in that time they like didn't write vowels, it changes the numbers and the numerology of the names and stuff like that. And it's I haven't I haven't read so much about that. I've more heard that talked about on podcasts and stuff, but it's like it's such an interesting topic, because like even just today, like I saw 11:11, I saw 2:22, and I saw 2:22 and 3:33, and I was like, it's cool when I see one of those things in a day, but when I saw all three of those, I was like, what's the universe trying to communicate to me right now? Like,
what is it? That's the part thing. I stopped asking that. Sometimes I just look at it, I'm just like, okay, whatever it is, thank you. Because I feel like when those things happen, we're aligning our energetic body with our physical, like the circadian rhythm, like the time starts to align, everything starts to like make sense. I wonder, what I question though is like the time was created and also time zones were created, right?
Yeah.
So after that is really playing into the matrix of certain things when I see it, or is something really trying to tell me something? Because I've had moments where it was just nonstop with those numbers and specific times too. I almost thought that I felt as if I was sinking to my car and the time, you know.
Well,
this was just to clarify. This wasn't a car that was on regular time. It was off. So I would have these moments where like the car was synchronized to like a certain like thought that I was having, but it wasn't the regular clock either. It was just an off clock.
So it's not like the time on your phone that's synced with everybody. Yeah. It's a time that is only in that car. Yeah.
Dude, it used to freeze on certain times.
Yeah.
So like 333 would come up and it would just be frozen on 333 for like 5 minutes, and then it'll go back to normal. Like then it'll just go quick minute to minute. Weird.
That's even trippier. Yeah. Like, why did it freeze there? And make sure that I see it.
This happened a lot of times. Like, I don't jump to things when things first happen. Like, like this shit was happening repetitively, and it was crazy. It was also, dude, I believe with that, if you have like an off clock or something, like the frequency that you're emitting out there, I feel like just like changes the field of how a clock works. You know, I don't know. That's the only thing I could come up with. Because there were times where I would have like these just found awarenesses, right, or moments. And then I would look at my clock and that clock would be on a number. And then at times stuck on the number.
Well, everything is energy, right? Like we influence, we don't just, it's not just us, like we influence everything around us. And like I think a better way of looking at the fact that I've seen 11-11, 2-22, and 333 today is just like that. I'm doing the right things in life right now. Like I'm on the right sort of path. Like I'm synced in with the world and the universe, and because there's a lot of different changes that are happening so in my life right now, and I have to do, I have a lot of work to do in a lot of areas, but like I'm putting in the right moves at the right time. Like I'm doing the right amount of things at the right time and not overloading, but not being late. Like there's a difference between not overloading my plate with so much and being lazy, right? Like it's because the energy that I'm able to exude now, the amount of things that I'm able to do is different than when the nutrition, exercise, everything wasn't on point, and I wasn't doing breath work, I wasn't meditating, and there's very, very different parts of my life. There's been different abilities for me to focus on things for a certain period of time. Like a lot of times when I was younger, I thought I had ADHD, and it was just like I had all this energy. And once if we moved hockey practice to before school, like school was cake, like, but if it was all the stuff was after, like I had all this energy that I needed to get out. And then, and it wasn't that I had ADHD, like that's a man-made thing, but some people do have higher, energy than others. And
yeah.
So it's
levels of it too. There's also levels of like, what is it stopping you from doing what, Like people are just more. It's very hard to say any kid has ADHD because like every kid has ADHD,
right?
We're all running around and doing shit, and like, but then you look at like the nutrition as it as well. Like what's causing them that ADHD? Like how much of the processed sugar were we taking in as kids? Like not even aware. Like nor our parents were aware. Like that was before the internet. Depending on how old you are, but
it was
at least popular, and like people had smartphones and shit. We had the fucking, nutrition pyramid. Like what was that?
Literally the opposite of what it was supposed to be. Like
so crazy. And yet that's what we were taught and that's what we were playing with, you know? That's the level. And then what's crazy is it's like shit's changed so much, especially with the internet. People are still at that level. They're still like in that mindset, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And that's what's screwing shit up, you know? Who knows, like fucking young kid, you know? I was diagnosed, I was told I had ADHD too when I was a kid. It's like, what was I eating? Dude, I had so many allergies too as a kid. Like, and then you realize that, you know, like getting rid of your allergies and stuff and how simple it could actually be to not have horrible allergies that just make you sick all the time. Like, it's crazy, man. It's crazy because it could all be resolved. And then, like, naturally. And then if it's all resolved, then you don't have to take the medications. And the medications, they ain't that issue. And then it's all trickles into each other.
Yeah.
And look, there's chronic shit out there. You know, I know there's disease. I know there's, you know, levels to it. I know there's great illnesses that are just like you know, came and have, doesn't matter what the concept is. Doesn't matter how much clean nutrition you put into your body, you know? But there's spectrum levels to that too, you know? It's like most of this shit could be cleaned up.
Yeah. Yeah. Like what, I don't know if this is a made up stat or not, but it's like 99% of illnesses is you're not born with, and you don't have to have, like it's a result of lifestyle. Like, and I mean, look at I don't know how we're supposed to die but like all we're seeing now is cancer, diabetes, heart disease. Like those are like the three main killers, right? And it's like, well, those three things are all a result of lifestyle.
Yep.
But we're focused on this other thing that has very little percentage of people, but also the people that die, it's a result because they have lived a not healthy lifestyle. Like, but still, still the media is not telling people to get healthier.
Or how to, just ways of how to, you know? Because then it's like people are like, get healthier. Well, how the hell did we do this? It's understanding the practices, and we're not being taught that. We're not being given that. And not only are we not being given it, but we're being fed. What bothers me the most is that we're being fed the opposite information.
Yeah.
You know what I think? I believe like that there should be a channel for nutrition, for meditation, for all these aspects that's free to the public, and it's just running all day.
Yeah.
And it's, you know, of episodes and shit, just so it's on the TV. It's like you can't not get it. You know, you can get on the internet, of course, all that, but like just like basic cable, like let that shit run all day.
Yeah. So that no matter what.
No more, you know, oh, we haven't told you. It's like, no, there's a fucking dedicated channel for all this stuff, you know, that runs all day long. And
yeah, like what are the 12 basic, it's like 12 basic channels, 12 basic cable channels. It's like one should be about nutrition, one should be about meditation, one should be about, I don't know, breath work. It like, or that could be with the meditation. Like
you can have 12 episodes that run a day, you know, on 12 series run a day on one channel, and just get people to just tune into some shit, because it's like, it's so basic yet we make it so complicated, and it's like a human flaw that we deal with, you know, like making basic shit so complicated. And I know that, I'm aware of that, but I also I don't understand. I don't understand how you can't even have a TV channel to run this shit, you know, and expect anybody to trust you or believe you, you know, just talking in terms of like government and stuff like that. look, I was ex-military, I'm nowhere near against my government, but I don't trust it the way I would like to trust it,
Yeah.
I mean, it's sad. It's sad to say that too, it's sad to think that. And I don't think I'm the only one, especially at this point. I don't care what side you're on,
Absolutely. Absolutely. There's the fact that there's sides. Like
it's crazy. Crazy. I think that today, you can't think Democrat or Republican at all anymore. You can't, because you go on left and right brain every time.
Yeah.
Left, blue, left, right, it's pulling two spectrums. So whenever you're pulling on two spectrums, you're not being balanced. You're not thinking balanced. Nothing's clear. So you literally can't be Republican or Democrat and say that you're being logical or you're right. You can't say you're right. There are things that are right with one side and things that could be right with the other side in terms of even that even doesn't even sound right to me. There is no left and right, and that's exactly what politics is. It's pulling left and right so far. And then you're in the middle trying to figure out the two. And then we were actually what's crazy is we're meant to believe that these are the only two people that could fucking run this shit, There's so many other that we can view these parties,
Like, look at the yin yang. Like, it's one symbol, and there's light in the dark and dark in the light, but they're also in one, and it's a circle, so it's never ending.
So it's one intertwining energy.
But the way the media, they're separate, and only on certain media sites, this is the only way, and on other media sites, this is the only way. And it's like there's good parts to both and bad parts to both, and there's a reason why we have so many different, the three branches of government that all have checks and balances, and there's a reason why there's all these different, 2 senators for each, and then a certain amount of House of Representatives for each district in each state that all come. It's like there's supposed to be a balance of all of these. And the fact that the media has just put everyone against one another, it's like I thought I was liberal left for so long, and I still have the same beliefs as when I quote unquote thought I was liberal and left. But the line has changed, not my beliefs that we should all be treated equally. And you know what I mean? It's sad, but goodness always prevails. At least that's how I feel in my heart. The truth is always, the truth will set you free. The truth always comes out, and the capital T truth, not what one side is saying is the truth and the other side is saying is the truth. The real truth will come out, because like we said at the beginning of this podcast, there's 3 sides to every story. Yep. There's what one person says, what the other person says, and what actually happened.
Yep.
And I think that's a pretty damn good way to end this podcast. It is we've been going for an hour and a half. So thank you so much for doing this, Dean. We're gonna have you back on here again. This has been, we didn't even get to go too detailed into your programs and stuff like that, and we just scratched the surface about your armed force, your Air Force, right?
Air Force,
yeah, Air Force and Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. Oh man, we got so much more to talk about, but it's getting a little late over here on the East Coast, and I gotta make sure that I get enough sleep, because tomorrow's a big day in the DJ community, and so Thank you so much for doing this, Dean. I'm going to wish you a beautiful, happy New Year. And I can't wait to see, because we're vibrating at the right level. We know what we have to do to keep our lives moving forward.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's the thing, is just getting it, letting people understand too that it's not that hard, and it's just some simple steps that we need to take to be a little better each day. It's not as crazy as I think we make it sound. It's not as doesn't have to be as exciting as we have to make it either. It doesn't have to be a big, hoorah kind of thing. It just needs to be the little aspects in your day to day, the subtle stuff that really changes your life. And it gives you the footing or the balance, the structure, the foundations to live this crazy life. No matter how crazy it gets, there's still a way to live through it. So I think that's kind of just the message of what I always want to put out to people, because I've been through my shit. Everyone's been through their shit, and it's not easy, but there's definitely, when there's a will, there's a way.
And we're in this together.
Yeah.
We're all one family. Dean, thank you so much for doing this. Tell everyone how they can get a hold of you and get enrolled in your programs and all that good stuff.
Yeah, so you can always check me out on Instagram, Dean_Michael. Or you can email me, ifbbpro.deanmichael@gmail.com. 2 simple ways. And then from there, we'll go on from there. See where you're at, what you want to do. And I don't want to say who you're trying to become, just be more of what it is that you're trying to be. So just be. That's it.
Just be. Thank you so much, man. Until next time, everybody, thank you so much for tuning in. If you watched all the way this far, you are my favorite person in the world, and I love you guys so much. Till next time, peace, love, unity, respect. Out.
Cool.
Talk to you soon, brother. Peace and love.
Have a good one.